Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda and this is my channel, Her Pacific Northwest Washington Life. And today I want to chat with you about series, and more specifically, series that I own, either the entire series or part of the series that are completed. So these are books that I have been putting off for a little bit because I wanted to complete some of the series I already had ongoing. I tend to wait until a series is complete or almost complete before I jump into them because I want to read so many books that I don't want to spend my time rereading books to remember what happened prior to the next book coming out. So I try to just wait for series that I'm interested in to be completed and then kind of, hopefully that's the plan, binge read through the series. That way I am able to just remember everything and have that series under my belt. So I've got this split up into the different types of series there are. I'm going to start with duologies. I only have one book that I own that's a duology that I'd like to get to, and that is the Andromeda Saga by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. I own both Zenith and Nexus. So this one's complete, just two books. Takes place in space. I was interested in picking this up because of the buzz around it. I like Sasha as a booktuber and I wanted to support her, and the premise sounded interesting. I think it's like Lady Cowboys in Space or something like that. But I don't read a whole lot of sci-fi, so I thought this would be a good one to get into and just kind of get a better sense of the genre, I guess. So that's why I wanted to read this series. Next up, we have trilogies, which I believe is my biggest category. And the first trilogy I have is the Magician's Trilogy by Lev Grossman. I think I saw this on a list on Pinterest a couple years ago about books you might like if you liked Harry Potter. So that's why I was interested in picking this one up. I know this is a TV show, and I think you either, or I've heard that most people either like the TV show and don't like the books, or like the books and don't like the TV show. I don't think there's a lot of middle ground. So I'd like to see what I think about the books, and there being only 3 of them. I think it'll be quick to get through. I think some of the characters are pretty unlikable, but I will make those judgments myself once I get to this. The next trilogy is the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. I didn't hear a lot about the Grishaverse. What sparked my attention when I heard about these was when everybody was reading the Six of Crows duology, and a lot of people seem to think that you need to read the Grishaverse before going into the Six of Crows duology. And I think honestly I'm more interested in the Grishaverse anyway, but I'd like to start here just because I like to go in order and see what I think of the series as a whole. I know this is a very beloved one here on BookTube, so I'd like to know why people like this. The next series is another one I heard about from BookTube, and that is the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. This one sounded intriguing because it has alternate Londons, and there's like a London that's like our current London. I think there's a London with no magic and one with magic and one that's kind of like a wasteland London or something like that. I don't know, a lot of people were really hyping this up and it sounded intriguing. So like all of these books, I wanted to pick it up. I do own all 3 of these. I guess I can tell you that I own all 3 of the Grishaverse books and all 3 of the Magicians. And like I already told you, I do own both Zenith and Nexus. I will try and leave a link to all of these series down in the description box. I think I can link like the list on Goodreads that shows every book within a series. That way I don't have to tell you I own a lot of this books and series, but I'm not going to know, especially when we get down to the 15 book series, all of the titles of those. So that's what I will try to do once we get there. The next trilogy I'm interested in is the Arc of the Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman. I own Scythe and Scythe and Thunderhead. I don't yet own The Toll, but this one was another series that was really hyped on BookTube, and I wanted to pick it up because I hadn't read many dystopian series since I read like The Hunger Games and Divergent and The Maze Runner, so I kind of wanted something else like that, and I thought the premise of this sounded really intriguing and like something I hadn't heard about before, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this now that it is complete. I think this was originally supposed to be a duology turned into a trilogy, so I was waiting for the last book to come out before I decided to jump into these. And then the last series is one that I picked up because of the cover. That's Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rash. I own the first book and the third book, I think. I've got that one over there, Frost Like Night. So I'm waiting for the second book, but this was a complete cover buy for me. Sounds really intriguing. I think a while ago this was also a BookTube darling series, but other than that I don't know a lot about what it's about. I just know that I like the cover, and that was enough for me to want to pick it up and read the synopsis and get into this, but I haven't yet, so hopefully here soon once I find the second book. That way I can just go through all of them. So now we're going to jump into the quartets. This is probably the second highest category, and then everything else has just one series in it. But the first quartet is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I think this was another BookTube. Most of these are BookTube made me buy books. But I own this and the Glass Sword, so I still need the last two. But I thought this was interesting. I think it's a fantasy where you've got different kind of class systems. I know you've got like the reds and the silvers, and I think one of them has magic and the other doesn't, or like one of them's royalty and the other is not. It just sounded intriguing to me, and I used to be subscribed to this book subscription box called Whimsify that I don't believe is around any longer. I know at one point I got like a bar of soap that was it was either red or silver, and so that kind of made me look into where it was from, and it just sounds intriguing, so I'd like to give this a shot at least, and see if I like it. Hopefully I like the series that I own all of the books in, and if I'm gonna not like a series, it'll hopefully be the books that I don't all of them in. That way I didn't spend all my money on books that I'm not gonna like, but I'm hoping that I'll like all of these, and that won't be a problem at all. But the next quintet I have is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. This is the only one that's not officially finished, but the fourth book is supposed to be published at the beginning of 2021. So I thought I would include it on this in this video just because I own it and haven't read it yet, and it is soon to be completed. I bought this one also because of the cover. I saw this spine at my local used bookstore, and I had heard a couple people talk about it, but not a lot. Like, I knew it sounded intriguing to me at one point, and when I saw the cover, I said, yeah, that needs to come home with me. This one's beautiful. It's got a book ribbon bookmark that's folded in there that I'm not gonna bring out, but just seems really interesting. I think the person I've heard talk about this the most is Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and I do trust her opinion on fantasy books, so really looking forward to getting into this as well. The next series was definitely a hyped by BookTube series, and that is the Stalk the Jack King Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco. I own, oh, and for Queen of the Tearling, I own the first two. For Stalking Jack the Ripper, I own the first three. I am missing the last one with the gold cover. I don't remember what that one's called. But this one just sounded intriguing and like a lot of fun. A little bit of a mystery in a fantasy world that I'm not a big mystery person. I like a little bit, but this one has like that historical fiction setting to it because Jack the Ripper was a real person in time who went around murdering a whole bunch of women. So I think the premise of this is what really caught my attention, and I thought the cover was really pretty, so I just decided to get the books and see if I like them. I hopefully will pick this up kind of closer to Halloween or like the fall months. We'll see though. The next book I have is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I somehow managed to find a UK cover paperback in my local Goodwill. But this, I think I mostly heard Chelsea over at Chelsea Darling Reads talk about this. I like the premise. It's set in the 1920s, and this one is also a bit of a mystery, paranormal-y sort of thing. So I thought it would be good for the fall times. But I just thought, I think a lot of people find this kind of creepy, and I might be scared by it, but I'm willing to give it a shot because I have heard such rave reviews about this. So I would like to read the first book here, and then if I like it, progress within the series. Probably won't be able to find any more of the UK paperback copies here in the States, at least not be so lucky as finding that at such a discounted price at my Goodwill. But I might pick these up on Kindle if I do like these, because I like the covers, the new covers, but we'll see what format I want to pick them up on. The last book that is in a 4-book series is Dune by Carrie Corp and Lori Langdon. I heard, again, Sasha Alsberg at A Book Utopia, is that her channel name? I think it is. Talk about this because I think she was doing she did a video on books to read if you like Outlander. I have since read all of the Outlander books. I've not watched the show at all yet, but I thought this would be fun. I think there is time travel in this, but I know it's set in Scotland. I think there's something about a Highlander in here, which, I mean, just sign me up for that. I don't particularly enjoy books about time travel. The time travel aspect is not what I like about Outlander. And the other book I've really read about time travel is The Time Traveler's Wife, and I hated that book. So I'm hoping that it's not very prevalent in this and just kind of gets us the character to the past and the kind of plot of the story. I hope there's not a lot of back and forth in it because I just can't wrap my head around time travel and how it even works. So I'd rather not have those questions. I would just rather enjoy like a romantic whatever story set in Scotland with Highlanders and all that fun stuff. So we'll see how that goes. It'll probably be more of like a springtime that I pick those up. The next book I have is a Sextet, which is a 6-book series. And I found these at a library book sale, but it is the 7 Water series by Juliette Marillier. I have the first 2 books. So the first one here is Daughter of the Forest, and this takes place in Ireland, I believe, following a girl named Sorsha. I wanted to pick it up just because it sounded really interesting. I think I found this around the time of, it probably would have been, it might have been last summer that I found this, so never mind. I think I had in mind to read this during the Irish Readathon in March. Also, though, Skylar, I think, was the one who originally picked this up, and he said it sounded intriguing. So I got it because I think that he may read this at some point. He doesn't read physical books, so if I like this and he wants to read it based on what I tell him, we'll probably end up picking this up on Audible. But I thought just for the price, getting the first 2 books was a really good deal. And if we like these, we can continue picking up the rest of the series. And since I picked them up, I hadn't heard much about them beforehand, or I wasn't paying attention, I guess. But I've heard quite a few people mention this series since I picked them up, which I think is pretty cool. The next series I have is an Octology, and that is Fantasy and Fairy Tales by M. Lynn. I just picked this series up on Kindle because I think it's an actual 7-book series, with the 8th book being like a novella or a short story. But I picked this up on Kindle for, I want to say, like 99 cents or $1.99 or something like that. It was through a BookBub deal, and it sounded interesting. These are all fairy tale retellings, which I do and I don't like. I like the idea of them, and I think it would be fun to eventually do a series where I read like the original fairy tale and then maybe pick up 4 or 5 books that are retellings of that fairy tale and kind of compare them to the original, see how much they stick with what the original is or what elements they take and kind of branch off. So I kind of bought these books with that in mind, but I also just thought it would be fun to read as well. So yeah, I'll hopefully be getting to that soon. The next series I have is a 14-book series written by, well, I'll show you. It's the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan and then finished by Brandon Sanderson. I have 3 books in this. And I'm a little confused because this one is called The Wheel of Time, the first part of book 1. But I can't find this book on Goodreads anywhere, so I assume you're supposed to read it since it's a book, and I assume it's the first part of it, but it also is just, I don't know, it's a little confusing to me. And then you've got The Eye of the World, which is actually book 1, and then The Great Hunt, which is next, and this one actually has a list of all the books on the back. And it doesn't say anything about like a book 1 part 1 or book 1 part 2. It just says book 1, The Eye of the World. So I'm gonna start out with The Wheel of Time and see how that goes. I originally was told about this series by my old manager. He really likes to recommend me books, and sometimes I pick them up, sometimes I don't. He knows I like fantasy. He's tried to get me to read the Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and I'm refusing to because it's not finished, and like I said, I don't like to reread things. I know a lot of people go through the pain of that with Patrick Rothfuss, same with George R.R. Martin fans, where it's been years and years and years and you're waiting for them to finish the last book and they haven't. I'm holding out. It sounds like a great book that I'm going to love. So I do trust his recommendation. And he said his wife in particular really loved these books. So I've had my eye on them for quite some time. You can find the mass market paperbacks anywhere. I think I could probably find all 14 of them at my favorite local used bookstore. I'd eventually like to get the nice paperback versions, but I need to get into the series first to make sure it's something I like. It's just such a big commitment, and one that I haven't wanted to pick up yet just because I had so many ongoing series. So the plan is to wait until I have at least half of those ongoing series done before I start to read these. So these will probably be books that I pick up at the end of 2020 or maybe 2021. We'll see. But I think it would be really fun to do kind of like a diary vlog style video of reading each one of these books. It would be full of spoilers, but just talking through all of my thoughts. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into this series, but it is daunting being a whopping 14 books. And the last series I have is 15 books, and this is a combined series. So I have the Plantagenet and the Tudor series by Philippa Gregory, starting with The Lady of the Rivers. It's now combined on Goodreads to be the Plantagenet and Tudor, but I originally was looking at this series because of the other Boleyn girl. I'm gonna turn you so you can see. I own all 15 of the books. I started reading this though because of the other Boleyn girl. It came out as a movie, and so I was seeing that title everywhere and wanted to look into it and read it. So when I was originally reading this, I was going to just read the Tudor series, starting with The Constant Princess and then going into the other Boleyn girl. I read the other Boleyn girl first and then read The Constant Princess. So this is the only series that I have read books in. But I will need to reread those. But I thought it would be fun to read the entire series starting with The Lady of the Rivers, and then I would get in chronological order everything from the Plantagenet and the Tudors. There's a book club I'm a part of on Facebook called the Creating Inco Book Club, run by this lady named Paige, and she and her friend Becky did a I think it wasn't last year, I don't think. I think it was the year before. They read through the entire series. So that made me really want to get the missing books that I had and read through the series. I just haven't done it yet, again, because I wanted to finish out some of the ongoing series I had. Even though technically this is an ongoing series, I'm just gonna wipe my slate clean with it and say it's a brand new series to me, since I'll need to reread the 2 books that I read, which will hopefully be quick. But really looking forward to getting into these. I'm not sure how historically accurate Philippa Gregory is with her writings, but I'm not really looking for the historical accuracy. I'm just kind of looking for, I guess, the fun, as much fun as you can have with people who behead their wives and consort with people and do all those other things. But really looking forward to getting into that, definitely. So those are the 15 series that I own, at least the first book in, and haven't read yet, that are complete series. There are no other books planned that I would like to get to here in the very near future, as long as I can finish out more of the series I've already completed. So definitely these are going to be top priority for me. I may not end up reading all of these series through to completion, which is totally fine, especially the young adult series. I'm kind of thinking that are a little older, a little more tropey. I know I'm growing out of liking young adult books, so I may not finish those, but books I would like to at least give a chance because I do own part of the series. And at one point they intrigued me. So I would love to know your thoughts on these series. If you think I should prioritize any above the rest, please do call those out. If you think that some of them aren't worth it, let me know your unspoilery thoughts so that way I can give it a bit more consideration about whether I'm going to invest time in these series or not. And just any general comments you have about these books or series. If you would feel so inclined, please do let me know in the comments below, and I will chat with you there until my next video. Bye!